All right, what's up, guys? This is Joe Bennett, hypertrophy coach with Revive Raw, and my man Vaughn Walker. We just met. We're best friends now. He doesn't know it. We're not going to be best friends after chest day, I don't think. But we're going through a chest workout. So today we're going to give you some of my top tips that hopefully you all can benefit from. A balance of maybe some techniques, some form stuff to help you get more out of your movements, talk about exercise selection, and then for sure, because he gave me the green light to just beat the crap out of him, we're going to see some stuff, what actual effort looks like, and some ways to, increase effort, whether that's just through getting more out of some straight sets or doing some stuff that's just fun with some supersets, giant sets, and some of it honestly may just be for my entertainment, just to make him hurt, and for him as well too. It's a good experience. Enduring some pain and having a hard workout is good, aside from maybe some of the nerd stuff we'll learn along the way. So hope you guys enjoy it, and let's get after it. So tips for flies. So tip number one, everybody can do this. If you're gonna do specifically a cable fly variation, use a bench. I'm not saying it's like horrible to do them standing, but if you do a bench instead of standing, you have less to coordinate. Anytime you do with, anytime you're standing, you have to balance your body and the cables first and foremost. And even though that's not always a big deal, it is one more thing to focus on. And then ultimately, if you do them heavy enough, which obviously at some point in time there can be reason for it, then there's some point in time where then you really have to focus on lean this. Like I've seen guys literally like lean this far forward trying to do the cables, their body's moving around as they're doing the cables. If you're focused more on that, it'll actually limit your output from your chest. You'll be able to do less load than if you were just seated. So it's very simple. If you're seated, there's less to focus on, and you can handle more weight, which is kind of a win-win. So for pretty much everybody, if you can, pull a bench over, your flies will be more isolation in your pec and more load on your pecs. Tip number two, if you haven't tried it, try doing a roller. So for your pecs to stretch as far back as they can. Some of it is how far do you bring your arm back, but the other part, like, so this is as far as I can bring my arm back. If I pull my shoulder blades together, it can come back that much further. So basically this is the insertion, this is the origin. If those 2 points get further together or further apart, it's more of a stretch. So this generally, because this is obviously rounded, will let your shoulder blades get back further, and so generally get more of a stretch. And then you'll try it out. I'll just show you what it looks like. Obviously just a fly, but seated. But you'll feel it is the difference as well too. So if you've never done it, give it a try. Aside from me saying that it sounds awesome, it'll give you a better stretch, let your shoulder blades move better. It feels, and as far as things line up here, keep a pretty big arc in your chest. And we're just gonna try and set up the cables and your upper arm so it's kind of in line with your lower pec, right? Okay. So we'll mess around with the cables. So obviously we wouldn't want it if it's like too high, too much of a decline, or too low, more of an incline. Okay.
All right, good?
Yep. Good. Three, because you asked a good question, was like, how am I going too low? Am I going low enough? Whatever. A really easy way is like, so whatever motion you're doing, so here we're obviously using our pecs to pull this way against the load. If you're wondering how low you should go, just use the opposing muscle group to pull as far as you can. So literally I could just go in space. How far can my back, my rear delts pull my arm back this way? So I'm literally trying to go like this, like however far you can actively pull yourself. That's a pretty good gauge for how far you should go. And so again, if I can actively go here, that's probably how low you should go with the flies. And meaning, like I said to him, if he had a 100-pound dumbbell, yeah, I could pull him way lower, but you could make the argument that some of the muscles that stabilize that joint probably aren't able to work as well at that point in time. So take yourself where you can go. And I said too, that make this tip number four. Tip number four, when you're bench pressing, grab a broomstick or just grab a really empty light bar and pull it down to your chest. If you can pull a light or an empty bar or a broomstick or something that doesn't have much weight all the way to your chest, you should probably touch your chest. When you bench press, people ask, should I bring it all the way down? If it just naturally stops a little bit off, that's probably a little bit of a better place for you to go. So again, how low you should go on bench press, same as every exercise, is going to be a little bit of an individual type thing. Tip number 5, have form like Vaughn. So if his, I don't have to cue him on a whole lot. So obviously when I'm training anybody, I see what they bring to the table, and my goal is to talk as little as possible. So he's doing some good stuff already. You're doing a fly. So any exercise, most exercises have a place that's really more beneficial than the other. Like if you're doing a dumbbell press. So here, the full range of motion is important. So like little stuff that I'll cue often is not that you have to do this, but pause where it's, at least during your warm-up sets, where the exercise has benefit. So he's doing a nice little pause in the stretch because you're loaded in the stretch. So when you pause, you make sure you're not using momentum, you're using your muscle. And he's doing a nice little peak contraction at the top as well too. Now again, if we were doing a dumbbell fly, I'd be like, that's kind of a waste of time because the load's going to be stacked over your shoulder joint. There's no tension here. But like I said, how we have this set up, there's tension through the whole range of motion. So people that are pretty in tune with their bodies, it looks like he's just making the whole thing hard, which is the goal. So at home, if you're warming up and doing stuff, really use your warm-up sets to take your time, you know, especially at the end ranges. Am I actually stretching my pec here? And then am I starting the motion with my pec? Am I actually finishing with a pec contraction? So good stuff that he's doing on his warm-up, making sure that he's actually utilizing the whole range of motion, not bouncing anywhere, not cheating as he comes into the finish. And I'll have you try this even a little bit next time. A lot of people, like, they're doing flies. Tip number 6, tip number whatever, and it's whatever, it's a good tip, is don't focus on your hands. Because you can see, obviously, again, the pecs, where do they exist? Again, origin to insertion, they between your sternum, basically some fibers here, but basically between your rib cage and your upper arm. Lots of people that do flies, they do them like this, and like this is the end. Whether they're on a cable or whether they're on a pec deck, they just focus on bringing their hands together. Well, what's left here? So look at this. This brings this across my body. I've got all that range of motion left. If I just stop when my hands are together, I'm missing out on range of motion. So if I don't focus on that, especially if my arm's straighter, I could still have another 20 degrees range of motion from my chest, better contraction, stronger contraction. So one, it can actually help you get into a better position, but then also can help you feel stuff better as well too, help you get a stronger contraction. So yeah, the only thing I was gonna say, you're already kind of doing this pretty well, is at the bottom, like you're doing, bend your elbow a little bit. So that bending your elbow can actually be easier on your shoulder joint, easier on your bicep. And then when you come to the top, actually finish a little bit straighter even. Because when you're getting there, you're almost kind of touching with a little bend. Where again, if your arms are almost straight, and you're pulling across, you might actually be able to get even a little bit further across. Yep. Okay. So again, the easy tip for this is, again, train like Vaughn does. He's doing good so far. But a big amateur mistake, newbie mistake, and why I'm giving him a lot of cues to focus on across. What does the muscle actually do? Where is his arm? Is everyone focuses on the weight. So many people I watch, and look at this next time you're in the gym, people finish their flies or their presses like this. They're trying to reach, they're thinking that I'm bringing the dumbbell from down to up. And so up will be, more up is like this, and they protract their shoulders. When you go from here, like when he's doing a fly, it's like pec, 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 pec. You can literally see as soon as this starts going this way, the pec actually relaxes and starts to stretch. So when people finish at the top thinking forward, they lose tension in their chest. Whereas if they're here and you're thinking more across, that's why I'm giving them cues to think about his upper arm this way. That's what your pec does. It keeps bringing your arm across your body. So again, that's the tip. Think across and don't think up. And you're going to be, one, you're going to finish more with your pec, keep more tension on. Also, argue it's better for the shoulder joints as well too when people are finishing. Everybody does, like, they'll finish dumbbell flies, presses. You see people bench press. They finish a set of bench press and they go, ugh. It's like, as soon as you do that, that's no pec. That's entirely stuff around your shoulder joint, like serratus, other random stuff that can protract your scapula, actually finishing the motion, not your chest. So
that's when the injuries come into play too.
Yeah. Keep it smooth. I got you. Control. Yep. Again, right here we can control. Yep, another one. I got you. Keep that chest tall. Ship at the bottom. Squeeze. Yeah. One more. Get your head on. Stay tight. I'll get you there. Control, control, control. Chest.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is a decent place to start. So kind of around 30 degrees. And it kind of depends on the goal of what you're looking to do. So if you're just looking for a little bit more kind of overall chest development with maybe just a little bit more kind of bias to the upper, then you can go on the lower side, like 10, 15 degrees. But if you want to obviously maybe just shift a little bit more emphasis to kind of upper chest, and it's really not even necessarily more upper chest. If anything, it's just a little less lower chest, if that makes any sense. Yeah. But we'll talk about it a little bit. I won't tweak a whole lot, but people always ask about like the incline related to getting to your upper chest to work more, and your arm path is much more important than the incline. So again, if I have an arm path where basically, if you just think of the plane that your arm's moving in, wherever that upper arm is coming across and kind of pointing to is going to work more. So again, having your upper arm just tucked a little bit, and obviously you can see the angle then if I go through this plane, the angle is going to finish more up across. So that's if I literally could just see this kind of cutting through my body, you can see that this kind of points a little bit more towards the center of the clavicle. So for the most part, even if you're on something that's only 20 to 30 degree incline, if your elbows are tucked a little bit more and you have a little bit more intent of your upper arm to kind of finish, again, aiming like the goal is aiming at your sternum or right at your clavicle, you're going to get more upper fibers doing it that way. So, and I'll just kind of spot you on this one, maybe give you like 1 or 2 forced reps or something. So the big thing I want you to think about is like, I'm going to spot you as much as you need it. So if we get to the one where you're like, all right, that's freaking failure, and I say 1 more, just make sure you keep everything the same. So again, don't think like if you're by yourself, you know, like, oh, the only way I'm going to get up is if I go like this. You keep that same position, you keep about getting to the same end spot, and I'll spot you as much as you need it to get you there. You just think about keeping all your positions exactly the same. All right, yep, control. Same pace out the bottom, nice, bottom. Good. And slow, just a couple more. Yep, another one, control. Chest across, across, across. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. And I'm gonna have you just at the bottom now. Slow, slow, slow. Stay right there, slow reps, right to this height. Right there. Good, slow it down. There we go, 3 more. Don't care how short they go. 2. 1 more. Oh my God. Nice. What's that?
Feels good.
They're fun, right?
Yeah.
I like machines that converge so the handles come together. And so that's a benefit of like, so what's the difference between this press and that press over there is this one's going to have tension all the way through the top. So this is one where kind of the same cues you have in the first place with the fly even can help as you really think about, again, kind of finishing with that upper arm smushing into the side here because there is tension and there is load there. So you can actually go all the way to full extension and still have challenge on the chest. We're talking, this machine is a converging press, and all converging means is as you go up, go through the concentric, the handles converge, they come together. And I think that's awesome for chest stuff. This is the prime, obviously lots of hammer strength machines do that, lots of brands do that. And I think if you have a machine press that you're gonna program and you have something converging, you should pick that. But I realize when you do a converging press, you don't wanna have the same form as you would maybe on a free weight barbell or dumbbell press. Like when we were doing dumbbell press, I was having them keep that dumbbell just outside of stack. So again, if we're looking straight above from the ceiling, stack would be dumbbell right above the shoulder. If you get to that position, there's basically no torque at the shoulder joint, no tension on the chest. So I was having them stop just out here. So I think it's a good practice when you're doing dumbbells just to keep that dumbbell just outside of the shoulder joint. Because the converging press doesn't go straight down, the line of force is actually out this way, you can bring them all the way together. So I was basically telling you, almost think like the same way you would with a fly, where yeah, there's a ton of tension at the bottom like a press, but there's still tension at the top. So instead of finishing here, you can literally finish your presses more like that position. So anytime you have converging presses, take advantage of it. It's a nice exercise normally for a full range of motion and not having to keep it outside the same you would with like a dumbbell or a barbell. Tip number 14, 13, 12. So for warm-up sets, my advice on that, number 1 is use them for practice. A lot of people aren't even thinking when they're going through their warm-up sets, and what they should always be is practice. And when you're doing your hard, heavy working sets, you shouldn't be able to think as much about form. When you're doing your warm-up sets, there's no excuse to not think about form. So again, you should every single time, what position am I contracting, am I squeezing, whatever it is, use that time for that. And then from there, how much is individual? People can make mistakes both ways. Someone likes to do 1 or 2 reps and then just, they do 1 or 2 reps for 1 or 2 warm-up sets and go right to heavy work. In which case, 1, you didn't get much practice, but 2, you're probably asking for an injury. And then some people do too much the other way, where again, they'll do, 5 or 6 warm-up sets, 10 or 12 reps every single time. You also don't want to overwear yourself out. You do want to be able to handle the heaviest load you possibly can for your working sets. So also don't exhaust yourself on your working sets. So you need to find your happy balance in there. Do enough that you've got some practice, that you try and mitigate the risk for injury, but at the same time, don't take away from your output for your heavy set. So for a typical thing, like when we're doing stuff today, aside from when I'm giving him an exercise for the very first time, you know, lots of times we'll do for this. So we did his first set, I think he did maybe 7 or 8 reps. Second set, we did maybe 5 reps. Third set, we did like 2 reps. So that's it. By the third exercise, you shouldn't need as much warm up. And typically that's how I'll do warm ups, where it's a few more reps in the beginning and then less and less and less as you go through, just because you don't need as much to warm up. And again, if you're just practicing 1 or 2 things at that point in time, you shouldn't need a whole lot more reps. So hopefully he's still pretty fresh and can handle some decent weight for his top set here. So control hard at the top. Good. Again. Let's go one more. Control. Finish. Yep. Good. Good. Just a couple, not doing a ton. Finish. Go. Got another one. Go. Got one more, last one. Control. Go. Finish. Okay. That's it. Oh.
Felt really good.
Obviously, we mess around with it, so that's why I have you try it. It looks pretty good. It feels alright to you.
Yeah, it feels good.
Okay, cool. You know, this isn't a movement that in general I'd incorporate all the time in a session, or I wouldn't incorporate it earlier just because of the relative limited range of motion. But because of what we already did, we trained his pecs through their full range of motion already. So we fully stretched them, we fully shortened them, we've done some flat, we've done some incline. So in that case, I like to have something where the range of motion is limited to where you're pretty strong, which for here, not going all the way to stretch, is kind of right in the mid-range, and it's very stable. We're in a Smith machine. So I kind of call this, just from my kind of coaching experience, or at this point of the session where he's fatigued, whatever's left. So really we're just trying to get whatever we can left out of the pecs. We're gonna do straight sets of this to failure on the floor. And then again, to just have a little bit more kind of dense volume, a little bit more work in a short period of time, which in my opinion, this is where I like supersets, things like that at the very end of the session. We're gonna superset this right to push-ups. And that's also a nice sequence too, because the limited range of motion, while there's nothing wrong with it, I do then like to go right to something with a push-up, which is full range of motion. So again, we're training this heavy, and then he's gonna hop in and get all the way into that stretch position and actually be able to take stuff through full range of motion just with body weight to finish as well too. So, and then honestly, training economy is a thing as well too. Just meaning, if I said, hey, superset this with something that's across the gym, that's not a super convenient superset. This is nice because you only need one spot. So you're here, you're doing your press on the floor already, hop up to the superset to the same spot. Don't have to take up more than one piece of equipment or walk across the gym while you're at it either. Go. One more. I got you. Tight. Control. Good. One more. No, that's it. I'm happy doing those. So I'm gonna have you doing this. The superset is something the exact same thing next set. Take a little bit of a rest, and then while you're getting up and out, I'm just gonna put this down to the bottom, and I'm gonna have you come back around, or you can do it from that side. Doesn't matter. You're gonna do push-ups to failure. Okay. Like that.
Like the superset.
Go. Yep. Go. Yep. Again. Come on. Finish. Yep. Good, come on. You want the bottom, control, hard squeeze. Good.
Oh shit.
Take a break. So one more time. Good set. So when his gym crush walks in, she walks in right around the door, and he's doing body weight push-ups on the Smith, and he can't do more than 5. Don't judge me. You should have seen the beginning of the workout.
After doing the floor press though, those push-ups,
They burn.
you feel every inch of that.
I pretty much always do that cable one we started with, or variations of it, because it's almost like there's a time and a place where I might do other. But if you're thinking of like, if I'm going to program one fly, like I have a hard time not programming that, right? Because if I did a dumbbell, like dumbbell flies aren't bad, but it's only hard here. The whole rest of the way is easy, right? And then the benefit of a cable fly is I can set up where it's challenge at the bottom all the way to the top. And like I said in the beginning, it's like, why would I ever do a standing cable fly if I could just do that seated? And then like, why would I ever go on a flat bench if I could feel like I get more range of motion with that roller? So there's times like that where there's variations that I like. Well, still occasionally, like honestly, in my program right now with Terrence, like I still have a pec deck in one of the days, just because we have basically 2 days that we hit some chest. We have one day we literally have one chest exercise, and then we have another day that we have like 3 or 4 chest exercises. And so just because of different programming and because he likes it, we put the pec deck on one day and that fly on another day. So the notion of like a little bit of variety, just so you're not doing the same patterns, I think is fine. But if I'm only having one, I pretty much program that one. And then so there's sometimes like that, I'll gravitate towards one when it just like, it, you know, when I'm making an exercise or I'm thinking of an exercise, I'm always like, well, what's the goal of the exercise? And if I have something that accomplishes that so well, then I'm like, why would I do anything different? But for a lot of like chest stuff in particular, there's a lot of presses that are good options, right? So almost any, and like there's nothing inherently better about flat to slight incline to high incline. They're all just different things. Barbell pressing honestly is still fine. Like obviously there's a little bit more consideration with like, you don't have as much freedom with arm path. So like sometimes people have to just be a little bit more specific so they don't have joint issues. But a lot of people, they work perfect. So I wouldn't say, oh, dumbbells are way better than barbells. No, they both kind of have value and can trade off. But then it's like, is a barbell better than a Smith incline? I wouldn't say so. There's trade-offs with that as well too. And then same with machines. So honestly, like with pressing, I think you have a lot more variety that's all very effective. I wouldn't say, and that's honestly how I do most of my pressing programming with myself or anybody, or same thing using Terrace as an example. We might just rotate that just a little bit more with how things feel, because again, just the nature of pressing sometimes can lead to some more joint stuff. So like again, we'll just kind of rotate based on kind of what feels. We'll normally put something in and keep it in for a few months, and then sometimes. So literally, if I look back over the past couple years of our chest programming, we've had incline machines or big movements. We've had incline dumbbells, incline barbells, incline Smith, and we just kind of rotate a little bit off of, you know, kind of what accomplishes that goal.
Okay. Then with that program, do you stay strictly just like chest movements, or do you toss in like a bicep or a tricep movement as well?
Just depends on the. So right now, how we have our split set up. I mean, if chest was a focused, I don't think there's anything wrong with having just a chest day. But the way we have a push day. So the day that we do chest, we do like basically 3 chest movements to start, and then one of them's kind of chest front deltish, and then we have a delt movement, and then we have like 2 tricep movements. And so that's kind of like a push day. But then on another day, just how it works out, we have another day is 3 back movements, 1 chest movement, and 1 delt movement. I'm trying to think, there's a third movement in there as well too, or whatever. So it's basically a day where we're just hitting some more frequency for body parts, because we have our split now as push, pull, lower, and then we have a day that again is 3 back movements, chest, and a delt. And then we have an arm day as well too, just based on, so we have a little bit more frequency for some of the stuff we're trying to bring up.
Yeah.
But I don't ever have, like, we've had just the chest day, we've had just the push day, we've had whatever. So kind of always just adjust based on the goal. All right, guys, so hope you enjoyed the workout. Hope you enjoyed all 1,200 tips. If you can comment all the tips in order down below, we'll give you a bonus. We'll give you a bonus prize for that. I don't know. That'll come from somebody else. DM either Matt or Dom, or DM Bumstead for that, because he'll send you something nice. So whoever gets all the tips in order gets a prize. But all joking aside, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions about anything about the video or whatever, get down in that comment section, let us know, and hopefully some of this stuff will help your next chest workout.